Hello there. Welcome, welcome. I wanted to send out a recording for CFR today, even though right now it's technically Tuesday, because I'm going to be out of town on Thursday, and I'm kind of proud of that. Many of you know that I continue to do CFR, usually even if I go out of town, because it's really important for me to do that. And what I've noticed lately in some of my own personal work is I'm working a lot. And so I'm going to take a 4-day break with my husband, and we're going to do a little mini vacay, which it is because my children aren't going. As much as I love them, I also like to miss them sometimes. So I wanted to bring CFR to you guys. And it helps me to maintain my commitment to my recovery by recording it early. And it helps me live in the gray area by not having to do it or not do it. So welcome. If this is your first time, this is going to be a real interesting first meeting. But if not, and you are my fellow travelers, I miss you guys this week and had a few things come up that I wanted to share. I thought you guys might enjoy this topic. I haven't done this one in a while. So the topic that came up for me recently was grief work. And what I noticed about some of the grief work that I was working on was it felt very familiar. It felt really old. And I didn't actually recognize at first that it was grief work because it was coming out as rage. Now, if you work with me, you guys know I get real excited when you guys are angry. And if you don't know me, let me explain why. I don't have anger issues. In fact, I find anger to be very empowering. So when clients are able to express anger through tears, through gritting their teeth, through twisting a rag, through throwing a scarf. If you've done workshops, you know what that means. It's really important. There's so much in our backstory related to trauma that has to do with anger. And part of the reason that our body stores that trauma is because the expression or the release is not allowed in the moment. We use fight, flight, freeze, fawn to stay safe in that situation, which usually means if it's in our backstory, if it's from our childhood or family of origin, if I'm little, it probably means freeze. And if I'm teenage or young adult, it could be any of the four of them. But it is about holding the energy, which holds the trauma in our body. So as adults, when we're working on reparenting and we're able to express some of those harder emotions, and my judgment, anger, rage is a harder emotion for humans in general. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, because our culture doesn't see it as acceptable. It sees it as destructive, it judges it, it shames it. Especially for women, we have repressed it for so long that we express it sometimes through tears instead of through yelling. Whereas others of us who have a relationship with the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the fight, maybe I am able to scream. Maybe I am able to throw something on the ground or scream in a pillow. But not all of us have that ability. And part of what keeps it stuck in my body is that I can't express it. So if you have been in a workshop with me or in a group with me, you know, I get real excited when anger is expressed because my reframe for that is one has to be able to acknowledge one's wealth, or excuse me, worth, wealth too, worth in order to be angry. I have to feel safe enough in my body, and I have to recognize my worth and what's happening as not okay. And if you think back to your backstory, whether that was your little boy or little girl or your inner teen or your young adult, I want you to think of what anger looked like in your home. Did you ever see it? Did you see it all the time? Was it allowed? Was it permissible? Was it seen as disrespectful? So for me, my grief was coming up as rage, and it was pretty loud in my body. And when I worked with my healer and I did some grief work on it, I was really shocked because what happened was it was actually my inner teen talking to me the way that she spoke to my dad. And it really hurt my heart. I felt the depth of it. I felt the oldness, like that grief being so old, that wound being so old. But it was also an awareness and a reminding that just because I've done some reparenting, and I say this a lot, but just because I got 18 years, not that I'm not proud of that, doesn't mean that I'm done. And sometimes the grief still comes out, the anger, the rage. And sometimes there's something left to reparent or that I need to reparent again. Part of that is tied to what I shared in the beginning and um, taking the opportunity to take 4 straight days off of work. That might not sound like much, but that's a big deal to me. I technically own 3 companies, which sounds crazy to own and say out loud. Um, and as I've mentioned to you guys before in CFR, a lot of my work is incredibly enjoyable. It's really hard for me to use boundaries at times. Sometimes I even like the spreadsheets. I gotta own it. But in this experience, I wasn't taking a lot of breaks. And it has to do with it being summer and my boys are home, not in school. And I just didn't find a good flow. I didn't find a good rhythm. And she was feeling really neglected, not taking breaks, not taking time to play with them. I call my boys my fun sponsors. If you're new or if you haven't heard me share that, it's because sometimes my life can look like all work and no play because that's really what I know. I find play in my work, but that doesn't mean that it's okay either. So, in doing some of that healing work, recognizing the voice sounded really familiar. And it also sounds familiar because my critical parent is me. As a little girl, I was parentified. So, raising my mom and raising my dad, keeping safety in the family system and trying to save my dad from his own addictions, I was pretty intimidating. So, the way that that sounds to me today as an adult was jarring. It um, was a little traumatizing. And being able to recognize that as my critical parent, but she was showing up as my parentified 12-year-old. Um, and there wasn't a lot of space or room in what she was saying, demanding, or judging. It was pretty harsh. So, in being able to make amends with her, that's part of this weekend, although we've had it planned. It's also a part of my commitment to myself to be able to express some of those emotions, whatever they look like, and to be able to take breaks. I'm going to try to do that more. In fact, I'm going to try to take a day off during the week. And for me, what that looks like is not just not doing client care, because unfortunately, that's only like 20% of what I get to do now. A lot of it has to do with management and building and structuring. So finding ways to take breaks, and even if it's giving my brain a break to take a nap or to go shopping, I think it's really important that um, when we think about what does my inner child need, what does my inner teen need, what does my inner adult need? Well, mine needs to have fun. She needs to play. It doesn't need to be so structured all the time, and it can't be work all the time. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope it was a gentle reminder of it doesn't matter if we have 6 months or 6 years, the work that we do is such a gift to be able to keep doing it. So the tool that I want to offer for this is the permission to feel the feelings. in order to heal, I got to feel. So finding ways to do that that feels safe in the body. If anger is one of those that doesn't feel safe for you yet, that's okay. Many of us, especially ACAers, come in to figure out how to feel anger. That is so not uncommon. Um, and some of us also struggle to feel fun because it's really vulnerable. So if some of those are coming up for you, I want to invite you to explore that with your therapist. And if you're in an integration or maintenance stage, don't forget we have the SIW workshop. It's the only one this year coming up at the end of August. So create some opportunity for yourself to do any work that's coming up for you and being able to feel the feelings, whatever that looks like, whether it's journaling, whether it's connecting with a fellow traveler, whether it's processing or talking about a feeling out loud so that you can create some connection. But most importantly, recognizing if you're neglecting a part of you, and if they get pissed about it, they might have a right. I'm missing you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week.